All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We're going to be talking about our digital transformation and going 100% paperless with my partner over here, Joe Castellino. So, Joe, as you know, you're our first dealer partner to actually go 100% paperless. So, with that, I have an important question. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Meaning, wait, don't answer that one. Were you always planning to go paperless, or was it something that you thought of after when you converted to Tekion?
You know, it was one of those things that you're driving into work and all of a sudden it's, how can I reduce unapplied time? How can I get better? How can I do this? And you start asking yourself these questions on why do I do something the way I do it? And it's typically because in the automotive industry, your mother's, uncle's, son's, brother's, sister, husband taught you this way. And so really, that came into mind after Tekion. We started thinking, how could we improve the process? How can we reduce unapplied time? And paperless just made sense. It just made sense.
And how did you end up running that past your dealer principal and even more, the manufacturer?
So I'm fortunate enough to work for a very progressive dealer. It was harder to get it past the manufacturer than it was the dealer principal. Manufacturer, when I went to certify the process, involved a Zoom call. So I Zoom in with a warranty admin over there and say, hey, this is what I want to do. And she said, well, many people have tried. No one succeeded. So I showed her the process. And literally out of her mouth was, oh my God, I think he did it. So she sends emails and head of warranty calls us and says, all right, we're going to send an auditor down. Auditor comes down, spends about 3 days at our store, and goes through the entire process, start to finish. How do I sign for here? How do I do an add-on? How do I sign for diagnosis? How do I know a technician did this? And I showed them exactly how it's done. So on the Tekion platform, it's user-specific, it's login-specific, it's timestamped, date-stamped, it's completely compliant. He had one issue. His issue was order of operations. So prior, you could sign or you could pay without signing. So I sent an email to Tekion, and 3 days later, order of operations is fixed. It's not like they didn't have the technology. It was just order of operations. They fixed that. We got that implemented at VW. And I used the exact same process at our Toyota store to get that certified through Toyota.
Was this the only time you were audited by the manufacturer during your digital transformation?
No. I have a fun story. So we had a customer that bought a 100,000 mile service. And in that service, he bought a serpentine belt, okay? And AI ML technology kicks in. And what happened is the guy next to him or the guy after him comes in and needs a 100,000 mile service. So in that 100,000 mile service, it says, guys who bought this also bought this. I need a serpentine belt. Okay, sounds great. So it moved higher in the algorithm. And the next guy, and the next guy. And it got so, our serpentine belts increased 210%. VW called me and said, what the hell are you doing? You sold more serpentine belts in 1 month than you did in an entire year. So I told them, they didn't believe me. They came down, they sent an auditor, and he literally went back and was like, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. It's just AI ML technology. The funny thing about that is, imagine if I said, hey, Ashley, would you like to buy a serpentine belt? And you said, why? Well, because that person did. You'd call me a crook, right? Like, sure. But a computer tells you, Tekion tells you, it's amazing. So yeah, that was the last.
So outside of audits, what's been your favorite thing about switching to Tekion?
So my favorite thing about Tekion, it's not even the switch. It's my favorite thing about Tekion. It's everything in one platform. It is all encompassing. It's the scheduler. It's the AI. It's the parts, right? It's everything. It's all encompassing, and it gives you a unique experience that you can't really duplicate in any other form. Here, I have an example. So 2018, this is like one of my favorite stories about Tekion. We had a lady, she just bought an Atlas. We're not going to call her Karen. We're going to call her Stephanie. I don't remember her name, but we'll call her Stephanie. So she just bought an Atlas. The Atlas is 2 weeks old. It's leaking oil. She calls into our BDC. BDC's, hey, okay, we'll make all these notes. So I have an Atlas. I just bought the car. It's leaking oil. It's 2 weeks old. I got to take Tim to practice. This is your problem. And we all know how that goes. She pulls into the service drive 20 minutes later. Now with Tekion, you have RFID readers and alerting capabilities. So our BDC agent had put it, all advisors are going to get pinged. She put the appointment to any advisor. So here comes Stephanie. She drives into the service drive. It pings, hey, welcome, Stephanie. And all of my advisors get an alert on their phone that says, hey, Stephanie's here for her appointment. Well, my advisor, Mike, and that's really his name, came up and clicked on the appointment and said, okay, saw all the notes. Hi, Stephanie, I see that you just bought this car. I see that your car's leaking oil. I understand that you need a loaner car and you need an Atlas. We just don't have one. I have a Jetta right here. You can take that Jetta, you can move on with life, and once we figure out what's going on, we'll give you a call. What does she say? Okay, she's a little confused, hesitant, calls her husband, says, hey, you know what? You don't need to come here. Like, no, they don't have an Atlas, but they got a Jetta. We can take Tim to practice, we'll figure it out. And she moves on with life. Well, we do what every other dealer does. We get the car in the shop right away, we put it up in the air, we figure out it's an oil pressure switch. We call her, we say, hey, parts are overnighted. I have an Atlas here for you. Would you like to come back at 5? The car will be done around 9 o'clock tomorrow. She says, okay, well, if the car's going to be done tomorrow by 9, I don't really need an Atlas. Like, I've already got Tim to practice. It'll be fine. So just as everything is supposed to happen, it happens. At 7 o'clock, the part shows up. A technician starts working on the car at 7:30. By 8:30, the car's done. We send an alert. We text her. It's done. 9:15, she's there. 9:15. And she's demanding to talk to me. And we all imagine, right? I saw your eyes. Yeah. We saw your eyes. You know exactly where this conversation's going. So in that, you're thinking, oh, this is going to suck, right? 9:15 in the morning, there's a customer there. It's just going to suck. So she comes in and she goes, I just want to let you know what an amazing department you run. Excuse me? Not what we're used to, right? I made one phone call to a BDC, to your department. And everybody knew what was going on. I didn't have to repeat my story once. Like, I can't even be mad. She's like, you got a customer out of me. Like, you took a really bad situation and made it so I can't complain. Like, it happened. I get it. But it was so seamless. It was so easy. And so you think, well, if that was another DMS, if that was something that didn't have everything that was integrated, could I provide the same level of service? Probably not, because my old appointment scheduler didn't sync with my DMS until midnight. So the fact that she called me 20 minutes before she came in would never have been able to happen. And then you'd think, hi, what can I do for you? Well, I just told somebody, I just did this, I just did that. And you can't really deliver the level of service. So when you ask me what my favorite thing about Tekion is, it's that story, it's that whole experience, it's that entire environment.
Awesome, thank you. Obviously you use our full suite of digital tools. And when it comes to your express pickup, I was wondering if you could talk about that since you use it a little bit differently than some other dealers, perhaps.
Yeah, originally I believe the express kiosk was used for a drop-off, but I thought we could better utilize it in our service department as an express pickup because we've got all this really cool technology, right? We have signs that light up, welcome Ashley, welcome Stephanie, welcome whoever. We've got this really seamless process, 6-7 minute write-ups. We've got all this AI, all this ML. Like, why would I want them to use a kiosk? But as dealers, we typically make it a pain in the ass to do business with, right? Like, it's take a number, wait. So to pay is no different. You're standing in line. I got to wait for this guy to pay. I got to wait for this guy to pay. We got to wait for this guy to pay. Most of us know our bills and most of us don't have confrontations there. So why stop there? When you take this technology and use it with, hey, I can pay online. I can put my key in that kiosk. I can walk up. I can press a button. My car's right outside. It's phenomenal. It leaves us with an experience that, we're efficient. We're great. We're smart. We know what's going on.
How have your customers responded to it?
So I'm talking to you and I looked at that slide and I remembered the express pickup sign. So this is actually a process that we never once advertised. It's just something that we did. So we put that express pickup parking sign. We gave out 4 spots in the very front of the store. And people asked, well, what is that? How do I use it? What's going on? And we explained them the process. 100% of the people that used it initially said they would never go back to going inside to wait for a cashier. But we still had a usage rate of like maybe 13, 14% as it slowly took off. Last week though, Ashley, 85% usage in one day, but I'm averaging about 65% usage. I mean, 64% of my customers don't want to talk to anybody. They just want to pay for their bill, jump in their car, and take off.
So knowing that change management is a real thing, how have your employees reacted to this whole transformation?
Okay, so switching to paperless was a complex scenario because remember, we all think about we need an RO, we need something, how we're going to do this. So the easiest thing to inflict that was to have what we called our painless paperless process meeting. We held every Thursday in our shop, and everybody in after sales had to partake in it. So we had the lot attendants, the cashiers, the technicians, the parts departments, anybody in any remote facet of after sales was in this meeting. And we made sure that their voices were heard. We made sure that they all had some sort of impact. So if a cashier had said, hey, can we adios this filing cabinet? I made sure that that filing cabinet was adios the next day, if not that same day, just so everybody had a voice. But as with any process change, right? Like you always have that one guy, in my case, there were two, that just doesn't want to do the change, right? Like they just don't want to do the change. So we had one guy when we went paperless who was like, okay, but I still need to print. I still need to print. I still need to print. So I took his power cord and I was like, hey, I unplugged your printer. And when he brought his own power cord back, I took the printer away. And I told him, if you do it again, I'm just going to take the computer away. Like, stop doing this. It was the biggest part of that was the culture change, was the process enforcement, and was that like leap of faith that you needed to take to move into the digital world.
Would you say that was your biggest pain point?
I think once again, yeah, the biggest pain point was the process change. Couple of side pain points. I know that when we talked about it with my general manager, the general manager decided, well, can we just keep the printers there for 30 days in case something breaks? And I'm like, okay. And then after 30 days, it was, well, can we move the printers to storage for 45 days just in case? And we hadn't used these things. I mean, our service department used to print 10,000 pieces of paper, and we reduced that to nearly less than 500. I mean, it's amazing, right? And so now these printers sat in our storage unit for like 6 months before we were like, cool, let's sell them off. Like, we're not using them. We're never going back. It's just too mind-freeing.
You know, what was the difference between Volkswagen and Toyota? Is it scalable, the idea of going paperless?
Oh, it's absolutely scalable. So the only real difference is as far as the process goes, as far as like warranties concerned and that certification process, they were identical. Scalable, it was, okay, so our Toyota store has 60 technicians and 9 advisors, where our VW store has 22 technicians and 5 advisors. Scalable 100%. We were able to do that with Teams in the Toyota store. We were able to customize it, make sure that e-dispatching worked perfectly. We went live on the 22nd of Feb in the Toyota store, and on the 23rd, we had no issues. Like, smooth, absolutely scalable, the same process, just minor tweaks as far as dispatch teams, things like that.
Awesome. So when it comes to the customer sentiment, thoughts, has it been all positive?
There's always a fallen soldier. I don't want this, I don't want that, but hence that's why we have like one printer, right? Like we have the guy that, no, I want a paper copy, sure. I want a paper copy of my MPI, okay. But the great thing about Tekion is it's all customizable. It's all user experience requested. So if I choose to have a paper copy, I get a paper copy. If I choose to be communicated with just by text, I just get text. If I want both email and text, I get that.
And you said you haven't marketed that you've gone paperless, right? So how have you increased your awareness, I should say?
So we started this campaign called, on our website for a little while, it was why save a tree when we can save a forest. But as far as like express checkout goes, all that stuff, we didn't advertise that at all. That was all word of mouth. And once again, you go to, when we first started paperless, we had like a 14% usage to now last week, one time, I had 85% usage out of it. What typically happens is I'm literally in the heart of Silicon Valley, like in the heart of I have Apple 2 miles away, I have NVIDIA maybe 4 miles away, and Netflix like 5 miles away. What'll happen is one of these engineers, somebody who works for one of these companies will take a photo. Like we had, when we first got Tekion, there was a customer who drove by and his name popped up on the RFID and he posted an internal thread. Look at this, right? And all of a sudden you had all these people. I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. And we'd had customers come in just based off of this. Well, I heard on this Apple forum, That's exactly how this express checkout is working. Like, we have not advertised to it. We're busier than we've ever been, and it's being used to a rate that I couldn't fathom.
So let's talk about cost savings then. And I'm going to bring up a picture that's actually from
Okay.
your
So
store.
when I say paperless, I literally mean, like, we've audiosed well, there's 2 printers. One because I'm lazy and I don't want to walk out of my office. The second one's like 10 feet away. But that 10 steps, I mean, back and forth. Nonetheless, like, we really got rid of all the printers. And that, I think, is the photo of them going to storage, where we stored them for 6 months on accident. It's supposed to be 45 days where we're all lost. And it's only going to grow because think of all of us. Like, we have storage facilities literally for deals and ROs that are 4 or 5 years old that we're all paying for. Like, when that stuff goes, this is going to pay dividends.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Joe, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.